last week at the Mobile World Congress by Panasonic called Numbo, a standalone security camera that boasts 4G mobile internet connectivity, allowing users to save and access video without a Wi-Fi or Ethernet connection. There are certainly many more brands out there that you can try your hands on, but do ensure that whatever security camera you choose to go for has to be one that will help you monitor your environment effectively without breaking the bank.
Data is regarded as a currency of the future. However, when a sovereign nation knowingly or unknowingly decides to keep her data in other countries, that nation has simply surrendered her sovereignty. In the case of Nigeria, we have over the years left our critical data and other internet infrastructure outside the shores of the country, and this is not helpful to our cause on the long run. Have you ever wondered what happens behind the scene when you visit, say, google.com? My guest on today's show is Ayotunde Koka, an experienced business-focused and innovative technologist and the CEO of Rack Center, one of the many data centers springing up across the country. He was formerly the Group CIO of Access Bank PLC. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and technology. He's the fellow of the British Computer Society. We'll be looking at the benefits of localizing our data and internet infrastructure. Glad to have you on Tech Trends.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
All right, so the first things first, how reliable or what are we doing to bring in our data back home?
Well, the first thing to do is have reliable places to hold the data. And as you mentioned, there are more data centers springing up in the country. Actually, also very reliable ones. We've got highly spec'd data centers now in Rack Center. You've got Main One, you've got MTN data centers here now. And at what is called Tier 3, a very high level of sophistication, they can provide plenty of reliability. Okay, so previously when the technology wasn't available here, people would want reliability. They'd go out of the country. We had the undersea cables and it worked. But now we have the reliability here. There's no longer an excuse to hold your data and you're hosting in other data centers outside of the country. Domicile it in Nigeria. You get better performance. You don't have to spend expensive, you don't have to take US dollars out of the country, paying other countries hard-earned foreign exchange. And you get better performance. You don't have what is called latency, which is the time it takes to trip around the world to some other place and come back. And you get poor performance.
I was going to ask you to take us through the process of what happens when, say, I visit google.com.
Yes.
What exactly is that process that takes place?
Okay, whatever device you have has some sort of access to your internet service provider. That gives you access to the internet. As soon as you type in google.com, it has to figure out where it is. It goes to your internet service provider, which then routes it round to a place that will say this is the address, okay? Takes you to where that data is hosted, and then comes all the way back to give you the data on your device, whatever it is now. It's quite a complex process, but it's actually, can be described simply. If it's .com, it says, okay, Google is somewhere in the US, let's say. It goes to some of these exchanges. There's one that's of Amsterdam or in the UK, Telehouse, or in California. This thing routes around very, very quickly, works out what it is, gets the data. Google uses all these great algorithms to do your search for you, and brings the data straight back to you, okay? So that happens in a millisecond. But sometimes it can take a little bit longer depending on the network speed you have and so on. Imagine the difference if you didn't have to trip all over the world and your Google thing was in Nigeria. There's the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, which is essentially actually Nigeria's own exchange for doing these things. It goes there, resolves it in a minute, you get into your local
is it
Google
functional now?
It's functional now, yes. It's functional in a few data centers around the place. Rack Center has the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria running in it as the only top tier one with it. So it means, therefore, that if, for instance, you're hosted at the Rack Center, it's almost instantaneous.
So what you're saying is that there should be, I mean, how can we get people, small businesses, to begin to see how we can bring back our data and internet infrastructure so that it takes off from here and ends here?
You see, we have those who have their hosting outside of Nigeria. I think a couple of things will drive, business realities will drive them to bring it back. So one is the cost of having to pay and acquire the dollars to pay the bills. The CBN and NOTAP and so on could have a view on making that, how you make that possible. You don't have to legislate. If you have to get black money or whatever, BTC dollars or whatever, more expensive dollars, the business case works. And that's one aspect. The other one is this. Nigeria has changed, actually. The take-up of internet, the internet volume is significant. When it's light and you're tripping abroad, the impact of what's that thing I called latency is lower. However, when you have significant numbers of people trying to access the same service, then the impact of that latency is significant. So a retailer, for instance, if you have 12 seconds in terms of the response time and you take it down to 6, it's significant in terms of profitability for them, okay? Now, if you hosted that in Nigeria, for instance, a data center that has an exchange, and somebody requests the information, because you take out all of that, it's instantaneous. The customer experience is significantly improved. The cycle time between browsing for the order, concluding the order, the one-click ordering and stuff like that is so significantly, the business case talks for itself. Even ministries, departments, and agencies that might have their services abroad, they should bring it back to Nigeria, and that's a good start.
No, talking about government, yes. Okay, well, I've had to have email conversation with some top government officials, and they're using Yahoo and Gmails of this world. What is the danger in that? I mean, if people who are making laws are using foreign email servers and email, yes. What are the dangers in that?
Well, you have dangers in one, credibility, actually, to be honest with you. If someone gives you a Yahoo address and it's not a private email, there's an instant loss of credibility. Even businesses here who, in a business at yahoo.com or hotmail.com, it's a brand eroder for a start. You also find, these services know they have to be highly secure as they can, but nevertheless, you're actually holding information outside of a known domain area, outside of the country, okay? That has its own implications. However,